is helping my customer feel comfortable purchasing what they already want. Isn't that our job, really, to help our customer feel comfortable purchasing what they already want? That's how I view my job. By the way, I've never done a demo where someone didn't like Cutco. I've never done a demo where someone didn't like the product. So my job was to try to help everybody feel comfortable purchasing it. Did I sell 100%? No, I don't sell 100%. I'm not perfect. And I'm not going to manipulate someone. But my goal is to help influence and show the value so they can do that. So I want to start with and ask you guys this: what is an objection? So go ahead and share in the chat, what's an objection? What's an objection? So Quentin nailed it. All right. So an objection is, to me, it's a request for more information. It is, Jacquees, perfect. You said it exactly how I say it. So I love seeing that. It's a request for more information. By the way, let me give you an example. If someone says it's too much for their budget, does that mean they like it or not like it? Or it's too much money? No one says it's too much money on something that they don't like. They're just like, I don't like that. I don't want it. So an objection is a request for more information. So you want to view that. Every time I get an objection, in my mind, I turn it in. When I hear it in the right frame, right? A lot of people, by the way, when I was new and I had too much money, I'm like, oh, it's too much money for them. They can't afford this, which is BS, because every single person I did a demo for could have afforded a Homemaker Plus 8 and then some. Every single person you do a demo for, if they're a Mac customer, there's not one person you've done a demo for. There's not one Mac customer that can't afford a Homemaker Plus 8. I don't care what expenses they have going on. They still can afford a Homemaker Plus 8. Because if their refrigerator broke, they're spending a heck of a lot more than a Homemaker Plus 8 on a new refrigerator. They're going to get it tomorrow. Okay. So I want you guys to understand it's a request for more information. So someone says it's too much money, show me how I can fit it in my budget. Someone says it's too many knives, show me why what I hear is, tell me why I need all those knives. If someone says I need to think about it, tell me why I shouldn't think about it and get it right now. And if someone says I get by with what I have, tell me why I shouldn't try to just get by with what I have. That's what I hear every time I hear the objections from the customers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with you and teach you how to help the customer get to the realization of getting Cutco. Because many times there's a lot of noise that's out there. There's so many objections that can go through someone's mind. And so, by the way, multiple objections can go through someone's mind. And so how we deal with that objection is so important. Okay. So going over the objection cycle, let's talk about the objection cycle. Let's dig into the objection cycle. So what you want to do is you want to draw a circle in your notes. Draw a circle in your notes. And what happens? The objection cycle, it starts with getting an objection, right? That's the first thing that happens. We get an objection from our customer. Once we get an objection, the first step to any objection is to make sure you understand what the objection is. And so what I say is, it's to clarify the objection. Now, by the way, on most demos, the customer clarifies this for you. All right. If you're talking, you shouldn't be. You should be listening and taking notes. Okay. So I see some people talking. All right. So you want to clarify the objection. How do you do that? You ask questions. So if someone says it's too much, I don't know what that objection is. Now, most of you go too much money, but it could be too much product. So whenever I get an objection where I'm not 100% sure what the objection is, I clarify it. So if someone's like, I don't think so, that's a clarifying. So just out of curiosity, what's holding you back? That's the one I was trained on. Just out of curiosity, what's holding you back? And if someone says it's too much, I would actually just restate it to them. It's too much. Yeah, we just had this expense and this expense and this expense. So the budget's really tight. So that's where it's too much. Okay. So I want to clarify by either restating or asking a question. So you want to put in your notes, clarify by either restating or asking. Now, many times, most of the time, you don't need to do this step because they clarify it for you. Most of my demos, when I said we'd like to go and get it, oh, we just had this and this and this, so it's a little bit tight for our budget. I'm like, oh my gosh, you had so many expenses. Well, people have those expenses and they expect to have those expenses that they have. Or like, I love this one. Our kids are about to go away to college, and so money's tight. If you just decided during the summer that your kids were going to go to college the year they graduated high school, you're not an intelligent person, and you're probably not a Mac customer, and you're probably homeless because you're just that bad at planning. No one does that, right? Like my daughter's college was paid for a few years ago. It's already taken care of, and she's 11, right? And I've done planning, and I started investing when she was born to pay for her college, right? So clarify the objection, right? And then you agree with your customer. The next step is agree. Now, when you put agree, I want you to put agree, comma, but. Agree, but. So now, by the way, why do we agree with the customer? I want to take a breath here for a moment. What's the purpose of agreeing with the customer? Why do we want to agree?
It lets them know that you're on their side.
It lets them know that you're on their side. So what customers do is they put up a wall between you and them, right? Sometimes it's like cellophane, you can just tear through it. Sometimes it's like a brick wall, and you cannot get through that wall, but you can get around it by agreeing with them. So you want to get on their side, okay? So you want to be on their side. People just want to know that you're listening to them. Most salespeople, they get an objection when I'm dealing with a salesperson. I give an objection, and right away they're countering the objection. And that's what most of you probably do, because that's just the natural direction that you know to go. But the first thing is you want to take a step back and listen to your customer. Now, by the way, I'm not saying like, hey, it's too much for my budget. Okay, you're right, Mrs. Jones, bye, right? Like, and then like hang up, right? You don't do that. What I'm saying is I'm listening to my customer and I empathize with them. And I'll be like, yeah, Avery, I can totally understand it is a good amount today. So they hear me listening to them. It is a good amount today, right? And so that's that first step. And then I ask questions, okay? And that goes to the next step of the objection cycle. So it's agree, get on their side with any objection you get, and then isolate the objection. How we isolate the objection is by asking a series of questions that will lead us towards a solution. The purpose of isolating the objection and asking these questions, what this will do for you, it's going to help you bring everything down into one objection. And that's where you want to, like, if I can just deal with one objection only, I'm in a great spot. This actually saves you a lot of time on your demo. Okay, so let me go over the most common objection we get, which is the money objection. So, and you may want to take notes on some of these questions that I'll ask. By the way, with any objection I get, I always want to get the customer saying what word. What kind of mindset do I want to have them in?
Yes.
Yes, you got it, Lindley. Yes, I want them in a positive frame of mind. So when I am dealing with the objection cycle, Asar, I see you got it in there, and Adam, great. So yes, I want to get them saying yes. So if someone says, yeah, it's too much for my budget, I can totally understand, Mrs. Jones, it is a good amount today. But, and I always go, but, and then I start asking my questions. But you like Cutco, right? And that's the question I always ask everybody, but you like Cutco, right? I've never had a customer say no, right? I guarantee myself a yes answer. You ever have a customer who gets in the negative mindset? They're like, no, no, everything you say, they're like, no, no, no. And like you drop down no, and they're just stuck in a no. Well, Mrs. Jones, you like Cutco, right? And then I just like nod my head. You like Cutco, right? Kelly, you like Cutco, right? And then they nod their head. You smile and nod your head. But you like Cutco, right? Yeah, I like it. Just a little too much for my budget, but you like it. Okay, great. Well, if you're going to get Cutco, this is where I go. If you're going to get Cutco, is this the set you'd want to get? So you like Cutco, right? If you're going to get Cutco, is this the set you'd want to get? So now what I'm doing is I'm getting rid of too many knives or not the right set, because there's no reason to talk about money if they don't like the set. Does that make sense? Like if I'm buying a car and there's these two cars and I don't like this one, and I'm like, I can't afford it anyway. Well, tell you what, we can fit in your budget. Well, I actually really don't like the car. Well, and if they start saying, well, we have payment plans, I'm like, I don't like the freaking car, right? So, but if I like something, so I want to find the set that they like. So this, so if you're going to get cocoa, this would be the set you like to get, right? Okay, yeah, I like that. I really like that set. Okay, well, if you like it, Alex, I want to help you get it. So what I do is I get on their side. If you like it, and they hear me saying, if you like it, I want to help you get it if I can. All right, I want to help you get it if I can. So just out of curiosity, how much too much for your budget would you say this is today? So, and by the way, I missed one question. So let me just go back. So you like Cutco, right? If you're going to get Cutco, this would be the set you like to get. So yeah, I like this set. It's just too much for my budget. Okay, totally get it. All right. So the only thing that's holding you back is that it's just a little bit too much for your budget today. And I asked that question. So the only thing that's holding you back is that it's just a little bit too much for your budget today. That question is really powerful because what it does, it gets them to get clarity with why they're not getting it. Does that make sense? So the only thing that's holding you back is that it's just a little bit too much for your budget today. Thank you, Jacob, for putting it in the chat. Okay. And then I asked this question. So if I could find a way, Michael, to fit it in your budget today, you'd want to get it then, right? So I like Cutco. I like the set. It's just too much for my budget. Do they have to say yes to that question? If I could find a way to fit it in your budget, would you want to get it today then? They have to say yes. Otherwise, everything else they said wasn't accurate. And I usually get, yeah, I guess so. But I don't think you'll be able to fit in my budget. But if I could, you'd want to get it. Okay. Well, if you like it, I want to try to help you get it. So if I could find a way, Mrs. Jones, to fit it in your budget, you'd want to get it today then, right? So I asked that question and I go, well, if you like it, and then I'm like, I get real with them. I go, if you like it, I want to try to help you get it if I can. If you like it, I want to try to help you get it if I can. So just out of curiosity, how much too much is this set for your budget today? So just out of curiosity, how much too much is this set for your budget today? By the way, so that's a powerful line. So just out of curiosity, how much too much for your budget is it today? Now, let me explain this. All right, let me explain this. I can start with this and I can say, Mrs. Jones, how much can you afford? But I'm starting at 0 and working up. If I say, how much too much is it for your budget today? I'm starting at either 27, whatever the ultimate is, 1995 with the signature, or 1326 and working down. Do you guys get the difference? When I start with a bit, if I start here and try to come down, how much too much is it versus how much can you afford? I'm going to be at a higher number when I say how much too much. So just out of curiosity, how much too much is it for your budget today? Okay. And then I go the line that I learned when I was new. I'm like, I'll tell you what, Ms. Jones, I hope I didn't give you the impression you don't, I hope I didn't give you the impression you had to buy it all today. See, what most of my customers do in your situation is they break it up. And this is what I was trained on: over 3 months or over 5 months. Over 3 months or over 5 months. Okay. By the way, pull up the app. You guys got this gold right here. Pull up the app. 3 months, it tells you 2, 3, and 5. And I quote 2 prices. Okay. And so, and again, I would say this includes shipping. There's a little bit more for tax, right? So we can break it up over 3 months where it's X today plus a little bit for tax, or Y over 5 months, Y today plus a little bit for tax. Now, by the way, what I'm just doing here is I'm doing the next step, right? And the next step is to offer a solution. I offer the solution. So the solution becomes the payment options. Okay. Why do I show the 3 and the 5? Because I'm about to do the next step. I offer a solution, which are the payment options, and then I'm going to ask for the order. AFTO stands for ask for the order. By the way, I went to a Tom Hopkins seminar. Some of you guys are like, I have no idea who he is. Years and years ago, he was one of the greatest salespeople in the United States, traveled across the United States, doing speeches. And when I saw him, I saw Jim Rome. There's a whole bunch of people at this seminar, but this was the one I took the most away. He taught us the objection cycle, and he sold over 900 homes in 1 year. He averaged selling about 3 homes a day. I don't know how you do that, sell 3 homes a day. That's so impressive to me, right? That's like selling 3 Cutco kitchens a day in our business, right? But more impressive. But he sold over 900 homes in a day. And he said the number one reason why salespeople don't sell is because they don't ask for the order. Whenever I watch salespeople in action, they don't ask for the order, right? And here's how we ask for the order in this situation. So I offer a solution. Why do I show it? By the way, why do I show a 3 and a 5 pay? So why do I show the 3 and the 5? Anybody want to share in the chat? What's the purpose of showing the 2? Options, okay? Options, I'm seeing options, which is great. Not a yes or no. Evan hit it exactly. It's a yes or a yes. So I'm going to show, so we can break it up over 3 months where it's this today, it's X today, or we can break it up over 5 months where it's Y today. Okay. And so which plan works best for you? Which plan works best for you? Now, by the way, I'm kind of giving a pre-closing question. It's like a trial. It's called a trial close, where you offer a choice, a yes or a yes. You always want to offer a yes or yes. It's like asking a girl out. You don't go, hey, would you like to go out with me, or yes or no, right? You say, would you like to go to a movie, or would you want to go out to eat, right? Like, it's always a yes or a yes. Okay. So, or a guy or whoever, right? So, but it's always a choice of 2. That's what we always want to do. Okay. A choice of 2. So yes or yes options. All right. So that's how we communicate. That's how we do the objection cycle. All right. So let's review this. So someone says it's a little bit, I can't see spending that much money on knives. I can totally understand. It is a good amount today. So this is a different money objection, right? It's not too much for their budget. It's just too much for Cutco. So someone says, I just can't see spending that much money on knives. Okay. I can totally understand it. It is a good amount to spend on kitchen cutlery, especially if you've never priced kitchen cutlery before. But you like Cutco, right? Okay. If you're going to get Cutco, this would be the set you'd like to get. So the only thing that's holding you back, you just don't feel like you can't see yourself spending that kind of money on knives. Now, what I have to do is I have to increase value, right? The value to them is not there. So how can I increase value in this situation? So I'll be like, well, I can totally understand. It does seem like a lot to spend on knives, but the one thing that you want to remember, Mrs. Jones, is this is a product you're going to use almost every day in your house, and you're going to use it every single day for the rest of your life. I mean, how many things do you have that you'll use every single day that are also guaranteed to last you the rest of your life? And I understand it does seem like a lot, but when you think about every single day forever, and it becomes a family heirloom. So it's not only benefiting you, it's benefiting future generations of your family. It's really not, it's actually pennies a day when you think about it. I understand it might make things a little bit tight right now, but what we can do is we can break it down over 3 or over 5 months. And so I go offer a solution where I can break it down over 3 or over 5 months. Which plan sounds like that would work best for you? Why don't you do this? Why don't you go ahead and give it a try for 15 days and see how you like it? Let's just put down, let's do this. Let's put down a 1/5 security deposit on the set. This is one of my favorite lines, a 1/5 security deposit on the set. You can put it on your credit card, 1/5 security deposit on your set. Try it out for 15 days. See how you like it. If you don't see the value in it, I used to say this, I'll come over personally and pick it up and send it back and get your money back. I actually wouldn't do that now, right? Because you're doing virtual demos, they're in Texas, you're not going to go by personally. But try it out for 15 days. If you don't like it, just send it back and you'll get fully refunded on everything. Okay. So how does that sound? You want to go ahead and do that, Mrs. Jones, and then ask for the order. And how do I ask for the order? What do I do? What else am I doing? I'm nodding my head. I'm a bobblehead doll. When I'm closing the sale, when I ask for the order, my head is like this, right? And so I'm asking for that order. Okay, so let's show how to, I'm going to show you guys how to deal with different objections, right? There's different objections that we're going to deal with. I just went over the money ones with you. There's two different money ones, but the main thing where I usually go is I go to the investment option. Sometimes I do a trade-in. Sometimes I end up dropping down. I really like when it's like, when they're like, I don't know, is just put down a 1/5 security deposit on the set. That's like one of my favorite lines is the 1/5 security deposit, right? By the way, Brian Jones had $4,000 in cancellations his first summer. All right. I want to share that with you guys because he did the 1/5 security deposit. He had 4,000 in cancellations. He also sold 88,000 besides that. He sold 92,000, 4,000 canceled. And that was 88,000 in 2007, which is over $100,000 today. So what I want you guys to know is this is a guy at today's pace would have sold like 110,000 and 6,000 or 5,000 would have canceled. I think if you sold 110, you'd be okay with 5,000 of it canceling. All right. So I just want you guys to understand like that security deposit line there was no signature set, by the way, when he sold. It was a homemaker or an ultimate. And he got a lot of people to try the ultimate out, just not thinking they were going to use all those pieces and sending a lot of those pieces back. Okay. So that happened for him, right? Because there was no signature set. All right. So second most common objection is too many pieces. I can't see myself using all those pieces. There's a lot of pieces there. And so when we get this objection, what I want to do is I want to get on my customer's side again. I can totally understand, Mrs. Jones. There are a lot of pieces there. Now, what most people do is they drop down. That's not what you want to do. You want to be able to listen to your customer. They don't. So why would someone tell me there's too many pieces? They don't understand what all the pieces are used for. You might be like, well, I did the demo. They zone out. Don't tell me they don't zone out. Don't tell me when a text comes through on someone's phone, they don't miss something. Don't tell me during this entire meeting, everything I'm talking about, you guys have paid attention to every single thing I've said because someone just shot you a Snapchat, right? So what I know is people miss things. So when you do your demo, realize when I did my demos live, I know customers zoned out on my demos. I could see their eyes get glossy sometimes when I was going through the names and uses. So I'd always say their name, right? And so I'd say, so Mrs. Jones, this next item is our spatula spreader. Because when I say their name, I get their attention again. Anyway, so, but if someone says it's too many pieces, they just don't understand what all the pieces are used for because there are too many pieces, especially in the homemaker. Are you freaking kidding me? That set was designed by home economists to be the minimum number of tools to get all the jobs done in the kitchen. You take one item out, there's certain jobs you can't do effectively. So when someone says it's too many pieces, I don't go, are you kidding me? I say, I can totally understand, Mrs. Jones. I get on their side. There are a good amount of pieces there. Let me ask you, which one or two pieces would you use the least? So that's my isolating question, right? Which one or two pieces would you use the least? So now I know what the issue is. It's this and this and this. And by the way, when I say one or two pieces would use the least, sometimes they give me more than one or two, but that's okay. Right? And then, so what do I want to do after they say, well, I don't know if I'd use this one very often or this one very often. What's my next step? Which one or two pieces would you use the least?
Can I re-explain them again?
You got it, Evan, 100%. You want to re-explain them. And this is what I say, Evan. I say that, Mrs. Jones, that's probably my fault. By the way, you can say anything you want when you blame it on yourself, right? That's probably my fault. I probably didn't explain that well enough to you because that's a really popular piece. I find people love it for. So like they said, the butcher knife, Mrs. Jones, that's probably my fault. I probably didn't explain that well enough. Almost all my customers absolutely love that piece. Let me explain why. It's the thickest blade in the homemaker set. It protects all your other knives. It does all the hard jobs. Like if you need to section a chicken, this is the knife that you would use to like go through the joints of a chicken. frozen ground beef. If you have like a pound of frozen ground beef and your recipe calls for half of it, you don't need to thaw it all out because the butcher knife will go through frozen ground beef. It's great for anything with a tough shell, like a tough rind, like a watermelon rind or a pumpkin or anything, any squash with that tough rind. This is what you use to split through it. Again, thick as blade. You may not use it as often as some of the other pieces, but it's really nice to have there for when you need it. Okay. It's like the spare tire on a car. You don't use it all the time, but it's there for when you need it. Do you think you'd like to have that as part of your set, Evan? And then again, on my bobblehead again, right? I re-explain, I throw a bunch of uses, and then I ask again for the order. Okay. So you want to go ahead and get that with your set. Now, by the way, if there was other items, I'm going to handle all those because I'm making sure. Now, by the way, Evan might be like, nope, I never use it. Okay. Well, let me show you a smaller set. And then I drop down. What I'm doing is I'm doing this for the customer, right? If I re-explain the uses and they go, yes, I'd use it, I just helped them. If I don't re-explain it, I actually didn't help them and make sure. So I re-explain, I find out for sure, and then I drop down to a smaller set if they still don't think they use it. Question, Lindley.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure I could write down the terminology. After you explain the piece, what's the question word for word that you asked them again?
So do you think if you had it, you'd use it? Do you think if you had it, you'd use it? Okay. So you want to get that piece, and then I do my bobblehead. Do you want to get that piece with your set? Right. And my bobblehead's going, right? So my bobblehead's going, right? I'm like one of those things you get at a baseball game. All right. So the bobblehead's going, and that's always going like crazy during the demo. All right. So let's go to the third most common objection we get. I get by with what I have. This one it always cracks me up. So when I did live demos, I'd be like, what? I wanted to say this. What? Were you here for the demo? Your knives suck. That's what I wanted to say all the time, but I never did. Like, I didn't know what to say because I'm like, your knives don't even cut through the rope. And by the way, most people's knives, I wish you guys had a chance to do a rope demo with your customers and go, oh my gosh, your knives suck. Like, that's how you feel. And as soon as you do the rope demonstration, you're like, but they know their knives suck. They do. So when you're going through, someone made a comment in our office, they made a comment about having a customer who had like 5 sets, right? And like, I'm like, well, that's exactly why they should buy. They got like 5 sets of knives. Well, they keep buying more sets. So like, get rid of them, right? But when someone says I get by with what I have, I would say I can totally understand you feel you get by, Mrs. Jones. And I always say, but I always hate to see people just get by. Let me ask you, do you have a dishwasher in your kitchen? If they say yes, done. Close the sale right there. You have a dishwasher in your kitchen, right? Now, Mrs. Jones, your dishwasher, doesn't that make your job in the kitchen easier? Saves you time. It actually costs a lot more it costs more than not having a dishwasher, but it makes the job in the kitchen much easier, saves you time, saves you energy. Doesn't save you any money, but it saves you energy. Here, Cutco's a lot like that because it's going to make the job in the kitchen easier. You're going to enjoy it. You don't have to sit there and waste time sharpening your knives. They're going to hold their edge. They're going to perform better. You're just going to enjoy cooking more. Plus, they're actually going to save you money because you don't have to replace them ever. So I hate to see it just get by. So here's what I'm going to do for you. And then I always go right to the trade-in. How much, and I say this, I'll try to slow down. How much could you get for your knives if you sold them at a garage sale? And I love doing that because you can't get jack squat at a garage sale. No one's going to get anything for their knives, by the way. They're going to get $0. No one's going to come to their house at a garage sale, or if they posted knives online, no one's going to buy their freaking knives, but they're still going to give you, how much do you think you get from me sold at a garage sale? Most people say 20 bucks. That's the most common thing you hear from people. I had a woman who once said 100. And I'm like, but she had an idea where it was going. Okay. And so then I explained the trade-in. Well, I hate to see it just get by. So here's what I'll do. All right. Ms. Jones, and then I value their knives. And what I do is I sell them the basic set, throw the table knives in for free to close the sale. By the way, I did this on a presentation one time. It was at a galley set. And she's like, you know what, Greg, I get by with my Chicago cutlery. And the knives sucked. And so it was funny because I did the trade-in. And so she was buying a galley and getting the table knives for free. And then she asked me, what are you going to do with my set? And I said, well, and I said, whenever anybody asks a question, what are you supposed to do? Answer it with what? A question. So I said, why do you ask? And she goes, well, we have a lake house. I'm like, well, you want to get a second set? And she's like, no, but I was wondering if I could keep my Chicago cutlery and take it up to my lake house. I'm like, well, it is a trade-in. You know, if you buy the whole set with the table knives, then it's not a trade-in. You can keep your knives and take them up there. And she's like, oh, that's a good idea. So it's a galley plus 6, nothing free. Right. By the way, I had offered her, I went to the trade-in and all of a sudden, boom, I went from a galley plus 6 down to a basic galley with a table knives free back to a galley plus 6. Do you guys see that? Because, but like she asked, hey, by the way, she wasn't going to buy the homemade or the galley plus 6. She wasn't going to buy the galley plus 6 because it was too much money and she got by with what she had. And then she bought the galley plus 6 because she got to keep her own knives because of her lake house. Okay. So just sometimes like, you're like, oh, okay. So now, by the way, sometimes you just have to find solutions. People just want to get a good deal. That's what's important to people. All right. Her deal was keeping her own knives to take them to the lake house. All right. And then the last two are spouse and they want to think about it. So we get this, like someone goes, you know, I need to talk to my spouse. I always say, I can totally understand, Mrs. Jones, whenever you're making an important decision, you should talk to your spouse. And I agree with them. Again, I'd like to talk to my spouse. By the way, how to handle that objection is see them both together and then you don't have it, but you can't always see them together. There are times where, or you might even have it scheduled where they're both together and only one's there. And so when I get to the end, I try to handle it when I talk about the objection, when I talk about the guarantee. We call this our spouse guarantee. Most of the time I can't see the husband and wife together. And so I handle it before it comes up, but I still handle it after it comes up. And so here's how I handle it after it comes up. I can totally understand, Mrs. Jones. I think whenever you're making decisions, it's good to make decisions together. What do you think he'd say? I think he'd be supportive of it. Yeah, probably if he saw it. One thing that I find, and I'm just very real with people, one thing I find is if someone doesn't see something, it's hard to make a decision without seeing it. Okay. And we have this 15-day guarantee where you can put down a 1/5 security deposit. And this is where I go. You can put down a 1/5 security deposit on the set. Get it, try it out. You and your husband can try it out together. And if there's a piece or a few pieces or the entire set, if you don't feel it's a good value, you send it back and you get a full refund, including your initial shipping. Okay. And when you agree, the best way to think about something is by using it, or the best way for him to decide on it is by using it. And so I do that. And now all of a sudden we have that spouse guarantee that we just put in there. Okay. All right. So you want to go ahead and try it out. And by the way, it's the spouse guarantee. 1/5 security deposit. I'm going to give you a nugget when I do that. They know their husband's going to come home. I know their husband's going to come home and they're going to say, hey, I just bought some knives. So Mrs. Jones, by the way, do you think what I always encourage people to do is you can never make a decision on you can't ever understand the value without seeing something and trying it out. So if you need me to show them, I can do that. But what's easiest is just wait till the product comes and then show them what you got, because it still takes like a month for your bill to show up on a credit card. So he's not even going to know that you got it. And then once it gets there, just show it to him and he'll see the value. And I'm sure, you know, since you do most of the cooking for the family, I'm sure he's going to want you to have this because you're cooking all the time for your family. And I just build it up. And by the way, that's a really great line. I'm sure he's going to want you to have it because, you know, if you do most of the cooking, he's going to want you to have it since you're cooking almost every day for your family. And she's like, yeah, he's going to want me to have it. Right. So that's a great line. Last one is think about it. And it's basically the same objection, right? I want to think about it. If the husband and wife are there and they just want to think about it, I could totally understand, Mrs. Jones. And I always say this, would a few weeks give you plenty of time to think about it? And by the way, I can totally understand. I think whenever you're making a purchasing decision, it's good to think about it. Would a few weeks give you plenty of time to think about it? I'm going to get, like, I sell this every single time. A person cannot say no to this once I say that. A few weeks, if they say, yeah, a few weeks would be plenty of time. Perfect, Mrs. Jones. Let me share with you what all my customers in your situation do. Is they just put down a 1/5 security deposit on the set. And it takes about a week to 10 days to get it. So you'll have it in about a week to 10 days, and then you have 15 days to try it out. And here's the money line. And if you're not writing this down, you're just dumb. Okay. So here's the money line. And wouldn't you agree? It's easier to think about it by using it versus not using it. And it just like, it so makes sense to them right there. I'm not closing them. I'm just making it make sense. When you agree that it's just easier to think about it by using it versus not using it, you can't say no to that, or else you sound like a complete moron. And they're not, right? So they're going to say, that makes sense. And that's why I close that all the time when someone says they want to think about it. Okay. And so it just makes sense. Right? This is what Siggy Steve does, because I taught it to him a long time ago. So when you hear about Siggy Steve with his $900 average order size, he just understands really well how to handle the objections. By the way, I've got his demo. I've got a video of his demo where he did a 3-set close and dropped down from an ultimate to a signature to a homemaker plus 8, sold a homemaker plus 8. Okay, so it's a recent demo he did virtually. All right. So again, the key thing is just making sure that you're going through the objection cycle, handling the objection, making sure you're talking about the right objection. The one thing I find sometimes when people are new, they get it too much. And when they get the too much, they're kind of hesitant. Then you agree, you get on their side, you empathize, and then use the word but, isolate by asking questions, offer a solution, and then ask them, so you want to go ahead and get that today. And then be really positive and nod your head, okay? And just like be that bobblehead down. All right. By the way, we also get objections real quick. And I had a request this morning for some of this a little bit, and I'm not going to spend much time on it, but the most common objections for recommendations are one is there's 3 of them, not necessarily in any order, but I don't know anyone. The way I do this one is I just restate, because that objection is just funny to me. I don't know anyone. I just say, oh, you don't know anyone? And every time I say that, they're like, well, I don't know anybody who would buy. Like, oh, okay. So now it's like, I don't know anyone who would buy, right? And so I'm like, okay. And now I can deal with that objection. Oh, you don't know anyone who would buy. All right, that's great, Mrs. Jones. I can totally understand. You're trying to think of, and I greatly appreciate you trying to think of people that will buy. So I agree with them, right? But as I mentioned earlier, I'm just looking for nice people. So I have to do a paradigm shift. Nice people that are willing to take a look. So it's good to ask questions. You can create paradigm shifts by asking questions. So Maya, are your friends nice people? So that's all I'm looking for, just nice people. Actually, someone who's just nice enough to spend a minute with me on the phone. So tell you what, why don't we just go ahead and start with the nicest person that you know? Who's the nicest person you know? Boom. And then I got my notebook and I pull my notebook up so they can see my notebook. Who's the nicest person you know? Boom. And then I write their name down. Oh, thank you. Who's next? Thank you. Who's next? Thank you. Who's next? And so I ask again a minute, and I always end up at just someone who's nice enough to spend a minute with me on the phone. All right. All I can think of, it's like, that's all I can think of. So they stop at a number that's small. That's all I can think of. That's all I can think of. I appreciate these 3, Mrs. Jones. Right? A lot of you guys get small numbers because you don't ask again. Right? That's all I can think of. Okay. And it's not all they can think of. They just went through their phone. They just scrolled past 200 people to find those 3. So that's not all they could think of. Right? So it's all I can think of. That's all I can think of that will buy. Right? That's what they're thinking of. So that's all I can think of. I can totally understand, Mrs. Jones. So thank you so much for these. By the way, tell me, and then I start qualifying, and I'm like, you know what, Mrs. Jones, it would really help me if you could help me get to 10, because then you become a sponsor for me. And here's a line I always shared. I'll share with you guys. My boss taught me this one. He said this: if you could really help me get to 10, because my boss gets really mad at me if I don't get at least 10, because he wants to make sure Because if I run out of people, I don't have a job and I can't do my job. So if you could help me get to 10, it just keeps my boss off my back. By the way, no one else sees the names. I just have to let them know how many I got. So, so who else do you know that's just someone who would just be nice enough just to spend a minute with me on the phone? Okay. I don't like to give my friends' names out. Okay. This is a common one. I don't like to give my friends' names out. Okay. This is an objection. Now, by the way, if you're confident, you get these less, but I don't like to give my friends' names out. I can totally understand, Mrs. Jones. I don't like to give my friends' names out to most salespeople either. But, okay, I'm just, if I'm a college student, I'm like, I'm just a college student. And then I get concerned, right? I wasn't pushy with you, was I? Okay, good. So I do the same presentation for everybody. And I'm actually just looking for someone who's nice enough to spend a minute with me on the phone. And if they're not interested, I'm not going to bother them. And I always go, I'm just looking for someone who's nice enough to spend a minute with me on the phone. And if they're not interested, I'm not going to bother them. Your friends are nice people, aren't they? Okay. So who else do you, let's just start with the names and then we'll get the numbers after that. And so boom, and I go after the names. Now, by the way, I can always go, hey, let's do this. We'll have you send them a text message, but that's how I get to it. Right. And so it's good about asking questions. All right, friend, I'm just looking for someone who's nice enough to spend a minute with me on the phone. I just have to do a paradigm shift because when someone says, I don't like to give my friends' names out, this objection is usually because they had a bad experience in the past where a pushy salesperson was pushing their friends. You're not a pushy salesperson. You're a college student showing a great product. Their friend, no friend of mine got mad at me when Ricky Smith goes, hey, can you recommend some friends to me, right? And I moved back to Chicago and Ricky I gave him a bunch of leads. He sold 17,000 over his winter break with my leads. And he crushed it. Not one person said, why did you give him my name? 0 people said that, right? And by the way, I got people going, these are great. I'm like, yeah, I've told you that forever. You didn't buy, so I've been telling you that forever, and boom, all of a sudden Ricky's got all these sales. So I think it's really powerful that like, hey, no one's going to get mad at him. So when I say this, I don't like to give my friends' names. I can totally understand. I don't like to give my friends' names out to salespeople, most salespeople either. But I'm just a college student. If you're not a college student, don't say that. But I wasn't pushy with you, was I? Okay, good. So I do the same presentation for everybody. And I'm just looking for someone who's nice enough to spend a minute with me on the phone. And if they're not interested, I'm not going to bother them. Okay. So I wanted to go over that quick. So who do you know that just be nice enough just to spend a minute with me on the phone? And then you get started. Once you get them started, it's easy to keep them going. Okay. And again, you want to use this objection cycle because it's going to help you. I don't have time to spend more on recommendations. We'll do that at one of the upcoming alliance meetings coming up. We'll dive into it a little bit deeper. But if you use the objection cycle, clarify the objection, agree, isolate, offer a solution, then ask for the order, you're going to have a lot of success. Okay, you guys ready for a break?
Would you mind sharing the table with the objections so I can put it in the chat?
The table with objections, this one right here?
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Are you taking a picture?
Yep,
Okay.
got it.
Cool.
That was
Awesome.
fire.